Okay, welcome back to part 4. In this one, we're going to be doing boning and rigging. So let's get started. Going to zoom in. And the first bone we're going to make will be the hip bone. Hold down shift so the bone stays straight. That's the hip bone. Then above it will be one for the waist, one for the chest and neck, one for the head. Select all these bones, move them over just a smidgen. Nope, back over. Okay. Now select the chest bone. Gonna start there. Gonna start right here near the collarbone. Make one shoulder bone, coming out to about midway point of where that shoulder is. The upper arm, lower arm, hand. Starting again at the chest bone. Come out to about I would guess the middle part of the upper arm is. Then come down with the upper arm bone, lower arm, hand. The shift so I can see the bottom half of his body. Okay, and then starting at the hip bone, the very first bone I made, going to make an upper thigh bone, a lower leg bone, and the foot bone. Starting again at that hip bone, I'm going to go to the other side, make an upper thigh bone, lower leg, and foot. This bone is a little off. Let me move it over. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. Hand back out. Then I go back and select all the bones and turn their bone strength down to 0. Then starting over here, connecting the bones to the layers. That's the way I do it. I know some people will use flexi bones and just let the bone strength control the item, but I don't do that. It just doesn't work for me. I've tried it, I can't figure it out, and it just doesn't work for me. So we're going to take the head bone first. I'm going to bind that whole layer to the head bone. Go down to the shirt. Select the lower ab bone and select all the points of the shirt. Then go to the upper chest bone. Zoom in. And bind all the bones from the pecs on up. Then going over to the shoulder bone, you're going to select all the bones that are right here in this shoulder's area, the upper part. Then you're going to do the same thing to the shoulder on the other side. And bind those points. Then go down to the right arm. I'm going to select the upper arm first. In the upper arm, we're just going to grab all the bones of the arm and bind them. Then choosing the lower arm bone, we're going to bind just the points of the lower arm, including his wristband. So I gotta zoom in a little so I can see that better. Okay, then bind those points. Okay, now moving into the shoulder. On the arm, let me turn off the shirt so I can see it. On the arm, these bones right here, I bind to the shoulder so that when the arm moves, these will stay in place. So I will take this 3 points right there, and I'll bind those to the shoulder bone. Test it out. See? So when that moves, this doesn't come with it. This part stays anchored over here. Okay, now the left arm. Going to do the same thing. Select the upper arm bone. Select all the points and bind them. Then select the lower arm. Select it. Hold down Shift and select the points. Oh, I got to zoom in. Select the points of the armband. Bind those points. Then selecting the shoulder bone, bind these 3 points right here. Then test it. Then going down to the neck and chest. You're going to bind this pretty much the same way I bound the shirt. I'm going to select the lower ab bone. Lower ab bone. Select all the points and bind them. Select the upper ab bone. Select all the points from the neck down to the chest and bind them. Then select one of the shoulder bones. I need to zoom in a little bit. Then you're going to bind the outer points, not the point right here in the corner, but the outer points of the, hold down Shift. I'm going to bind these 2 points, all but this point of the collarbone to that shoulder bone. Again, select the shoulder, hold down Shift, select these 2 points and all but the first bone. Excuse me. And bind those points. Okay. Okay, going down to the right leg. Scroll out where I can see the leg. For the right leg, choose the upper thigh bone. Something looks strange about that bone. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, it just looks strange. Okay, select that upper bone. Select all the bones, all the points to that leg. Bind the points. Select the lower leg. Bind all the points of the lower leg. Zoom in some so I can get these other points. Okay, then bind those. Check to make sure you got all the points. Okay. Do the same thing with the left leg. Select the upper thigh bone. Grab all the points and bind them. Select the lower leg. Hold down Shift. Bind the leg, then zoom in so you can get these other points, so I can get these other points. Then bind those. Check to make sure everything was grabbed. Okay. Down to the right foot. Right foot, you bind the whole foot to the thing, so select the right foot bone, bind the whole layer to that bone. Left foot, bind the whole layer to that bone. Back hair, this whole layer will be bound to the head bone. The back hat is also the whole layer bound to the head bone. So wherever the head moves, the hair and the hat and all that goes with it. Okay, all those bones are bound to the layers, to each layer. Now I'm going to go in up here and put bone constraints on each bone. Starting with the head bone, turn on bone constraints. 70 to 70 is too far, so I'm going to go with 45 by 45. That's more than enough head movement for anybody. Going with the chest bone. 70 is still too far out for that bone to be moving. So let's give it a 35 by 35. Okay, that looks good. Now the abs should be able to move a pretty good distance. So the bone constraints on it. 70 is still way too far out. So let's move that down to, let's try the 45 that I gave the head. See how far out. Okay. That's still too much movement in the waist. So let's take that 45 down by half and make that 25. Okay, that's good. Then to the hip bone, I don't really want that bone moving at all. So I'll put a bone constraint on it, but I'll turn it down to 0 by 0. Then the shoulder bone, 70 is way too much movement for that bone. So let's give it like a 10. No, that's still too far. Let's say a 5 by 10. Let's test that. Okay, change that bone constraint. Give that 10 to maybe a 25. Okay, I see where I missed binding some bones. So bones on the sleeve should have been bound to that arm. So let's go back up to the shirt. These points right here, bind them. Over here, pick this part, bind the same point on this side of the shirt. And bind them. Okay. Now where was I? I bound the left arm, right arm, chest, legs. Okay. I was doing the bone constraints. Okay. Done. Done. Okay. Arm. This arm needs to be able to go straight up here. So let's try 90. That's not far enough. Let's try 120. Almost. Let's try 150. $160 ought to do it. Okay. And this arm. The 70/70 should be good for that. And for the hand, put 45 by 45. And we use the same numbers that we used on this side. We just put them on the other side in the opposite order. Where this was 5 by 25, this will be 25 by 5. Where this one was 70 by 160, this one will be 160 by 70. This one stays 70 by 70, so will this one. And this will go 45 by 45. Okay, now move him up so I can see his legs. The hip bone, of course, is 0, 0. the upper thigh bone. It doesn't really need to come out that far, so let me try 45. Oh no, what, wrong side. But 45 is not going to be out far enough, so let's try 35. By small number, because our legs really don't twist over that far, so let's try 15. Test that. Yeah, that's far enough. Our legs don't twist out too far from our bodies when that's crossing over. Now this lower leg, it moves out even less this way, but more this way. So I'll leave that 70. And let's try taking it into, say, 20. Wrong leg. Put that back at 70. Move this over to 20. That looks too far out to me. Let's try 10. Test that. Right now you see how this is doing that. Don't worry about it. This will be taken care of when you do the actions. Okay, and then the foot. Foot has very little movement. So for that, let's go 10 by 5. Ten is a little too constrained. Let's go 20 by 10. Okay. And then, like I said, the same numbers that were on this side are put in the reverse order on the other side. So 15 by 35 becomes 35 by 15. Seventy by 10 becomes 10 by 70. And 20 by 10 becomes 10 by 20. Okay, now this is rigged. Now I have to name all the bones, because when I do actions, I prefer to have these bones named something that I know what they're doing. It's easier than saying B1, B3. B3 is what? Is that the arm? Is that the head? So, time to name the bones. Starting at the first bone, B1, all caps. This is now the hip bone. B2 becomes the abs. B3 becomes the chest. And I can go slash neck, since my neck is connected to it. B4 becomes the head. B5 becomes shoulder left. B6 becomes arm upper left. And B7 becomes arm lower left. And B8 becomes hand left. Now, just to make sure that those names did take, go back and click on them. Okay. B9 becomes shoulder right, and so on and so on. So I'm going to fast forward through this part. So let me just name these and I'll be right back. Okay. Scoot him up so I can see his legs. And we'll continue with leg upper left. Leg lower left. And foot left. Okay. And then do the same thing to the right side. So I'm going to go quiet for a minute. Okay, and that's all the bones. Each bone has a name. Each bone is connected to something. And that's all it is to rigging. All you got to do is have them in the right place. If you're going to put actions on them, lining them up exactly really isn't necessary, as long as they're in the general vicinity of where they need to be. Okay, how long did that take? That only took 34 minutes to rig it up. So next time I will be doing actions to the bones. Until then, if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel. Pass the video on to your friends. And if there is any tutorial you would like me to cover, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below. Until next time, when I will be doing actions to my bones and finishing up one eye. That will be it for now. Bye bye.